And yet, being a non-processor, I see that people want to have their product in Loblaws. Where is the cost-benefit analysis that you do of wanting to go to Loblaws, knowing that they have these perhaps not so friendly terms for the processors, and yet processors want to have their product? So as a consumer and as a non-processor, like, address that part.
Well, it really depends who you are and where you're starting from. So my earlier answer about if you're starting a business and you've got a great product and you're trying to establish and build demand for it, you know, I don't think you need to start there. Clearly, if you're craft and you're launching a new product, you can't not be there because you need mass availability and your approach is different. If you're you know, a good-sized processor like us, is national, and you're in Canada, it's pretty tough to have a business which doesn't involve Loblaw. But I think it's wise to be careful about how much of your business is with Loblaw. In Ontario today, there are a lot of food companies that I think are very, very challenged because they have more than 50% of their business with Loblaw. And that's not a great place to be in the last 2 years. So I would be very, very careful about, you know, the health, if you like, of your customer mix and diversity. And if you can keep anybody under 30% of your margin, that's a good plan. And in Canada, that's an important thing to watch given the strengths nationally of Loblaw. Unfortunately, in the West here, it's a little bit more diverse.
Anything anybody wants to add?
We're in the process of launching the Vital eggs, and then in the fall, Vitamin D eggs in Saskatoon through a partner who's a grader, does distribution. And we got a listing with Sobeys and Federated. And when they talked to Loblaws, the first thing they said is, we want a private label. And so we'll see where the conversation goes, but it's just interesting. You know, we're trying to build a brand and we've invested a lot into it. And they're like, oh, we like this, but we want to put our name on it. And then I'm suspecting it'll become a price game. So yeah, it's just the environment that we're playing in, I guess. And I think from our view, we're small and you know, we're not driven on volume right now. So it's just making sure we place our products and position them where they need to be and not start making sacrifices and then dilute the brand. So.
Well, Mike, really good question, because I did not believe that we need Loblaws. Yes, we are craft, we need it. Our idea of when we finished the model up was I'd rather be in Stonks, Whole Foods, Capers, all the high-end individual stores, that every store is passionate about selling the product. So if you went to the store and said, I want to buy these salsa chips or chips, somebody says, well, you know what, this is made at so-and-so ground by so-and-so person, this is what they do, there's a story behind it. I've always been somebody who's interested in that. And so my idea was we will only sell it to these high-end retailers and we'll be fine. So McEwen's, for example, or all the fine foods in Toronto, or all those places, Shirley's in Victoria. So I'm not quite convinced yet that I need Loblaws. I would probably be happy if I did not get in there. But having said that, if they came and said, we like what you're doing, we like the food that you're making, we like the taste of it, I think I will have a conversation with them at the table and say, these are my terms. You're going to have to say, this is my price, this is what I'm going to do, take it or leave it. I'm not going to sit there and say that. You know, I'm not for sale that way. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say to you, you know, just because you're a big brand, I'm not going to worry about that. So maybe I'll never be in Loblaw, and that may be okay with me. Maybe I'll always keep driving the Prius. I don't need to drive.
That might be an assumption that you might not be in Loblaw for a while. Try the speakers around the room. Any other questions for the panel?
You in nut business, and just wondering if you have, how do you keep liability off? You address the question of origin. How do you make sure that
Oh, it's okay. I'll repeat the
How do
question.
you address the question of liability and protecting yourself, being in nut business and being quite aware of peanuts being a major allergen?
So the question was, how do you protect yourself from liability, recognizing that peanuts are like a major allergen in the world today, and you did address the discussion about allergens.
So obviously there are laws in Canada and there are laws in the United States about labeling nut-containing products, and we comply with the laws. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing is that we do more than that, because we have procedures and kind of structures, meaning like buildings and ways of working, which separate peanuts from tree nuts, and all nuts from dried fruits, and organic from non-organic as well, by the way, whether it's in warehousing as raw material or as finished goods, or in processing or in separate machinery, in order to try and deliver to the consumer, what they would expect, I think, which is when they buy a product which isn't supposed to have peanuts in it, it doesn't have any peanuts in it, not even a possibility of that. So I did mention earlier that a lot of people don't actually do that, so when you read allergen statements, you'll see that there are many things that could be in this bag or jar or whatever it is. So we're focused on that. We actually don't have a lot of issues in that area. The bigger challenge in terms of product liability is either around general quality, which doesn't tend to be a safety issue. It's more to do with, because you're dealing with a natural product, you might not have had much done to it, and you therefore got quality variants that can occur. And in markets like we've had, where prices are very distorted, supply is distorted, you get more games played with quality by suppliers than you do in sort of steady times. So you tend to get issues in that. They don't tend to be safety issues, more just whether you're meeting expectations or not. Safety tends to be more about foreign matter, actually, because everything we use comes out of a field. And in fields, there are things that you don't want to eat. So, that's a challenge, and the further you go away from North America, the bigger challenge it is. It's more of a challenge in organic than it is in conventional products, as it happens. So we're very focused on our suppliers' controls around that kind of thing, and in their own plants and primary processing, and then our own controls to try and get the lowest possible incidence of bad events that we can.
Thank you. Any more questions?
In growing your business from a fairly small organization to a larger organization, to what extent does occupational safety play a role in planning out what the future is going to hold, and to what extent do you view it as a thing that you need to look at from a business perspective and not only a model obligation?
So the question is around growing your business from small to large, and what role does occupational safety play in that? Are you addressing that to any one of the panel members, or whoever would like? Anybody? Would like to talk about that?
Let me answer that, because people don't come to work to get hurt. So I think that's kind of the first thing to remember. So if you employ a lot of people, none of them showed up expecting to have an accident. But if you run a factory of any kind and there are trucks moving around in it, meaning lift trucks, there will be accidents. You need to try and get that as close to zero as possible. We find that we have been able to do that in our peanut butter plant, for example, because we don't have too many physical vehicles moving around. There are just people and machines, and you can teach people to use machines safely. But when there's traffic, that's a challenge. In our fruit and nut building, where there's a lot of movement, it's really tough. But we have had 2-3 years of continuously declining accident rates, so we're happy with that. And that's what you have to strive for, continuously reducing it. Now, do any of our customers ask about that? Well, actually, the only one who came into Walmart asked about that. Nobody else. And do they buy based on that? No, I don't think they do, actually. And it's not a material cost of doing business, or what our premiums are, if you like, for workers' comp and so forth. But nevertheless, it's the right thing to do, right? I mean, because nobody comes to work to get hurt, and therefore it's your duty as an employer to keep people safe.
Okay, Bill or Vikram, anything to add about occupational health and safety?
Well, as an employer, it is a fundamental right or a moral issue to take care of the people who are, you know, working for you or working with you. So if somebody gets hurt, it is just our responsibility to, you know, to take care of. I always believe that you've got to give the employees all the tools that they require in order to be safe and take care of them. Sometimes it's a little too much, and when it is, then we just sit down and we have a conversation and say, do you think this is a little too much? But I mean, I do take it personally that I really don't want anybody getting hurt or burnt or anything else, because it's a big, it's a scary thing.
You okay? So I just have one last question for our panel. Are the Canucks going to win Stanley Cup? Vikram?
I'm a cricket fan, not a hockey fan.
I'm the optimistic entrepreneur, so I'm going to say yes. And I'm also rolling out the beard in support. So.
I don't have a beard, but you know, I would kind of go with the coach and say 2 home ice games, 1 Boston game, still good odds for the Canucks. So I think we'll keep it going.